Today, we are talking about purpose and profit and how to create business prosperity. This is Shifco. For those of you that don't know us, we train purposeful founders how to grow your business and maximize your impact. And maximize your impact is the important piece as it relates to purpose, is it's balancing the growth of your business with the impact the business is making. We measure our impact first in our members' success. 88.9% of our members double their business. And we also measure the value that we provide based on retention. And we have a 98% retention rate as of April, which is very exciting. So we're proud of what we do and we love to do it. My story is really simple. My first entrepreneurial mentor was my grandfather, and he had a juice bar in Sarasota, Florida. And there was this profound moment when he taught me everything I need to know about business. And there was they served an upper echelon client. Downtown Sarasota back in the day was where most of the wealthy people in Sarasota lived, and he had this juice bar, and most of his patrons were wealthy. But this one day when I was there, this biker, kind of greasy, came walking in, and the whole room, everybody just kind of stared at him, and it was really kind of weird. And my grandfather just walked over to the man, and I saw the man was shaking, and they had a conversation, and I kind of overheard the conversation, and the biker basically said, "Sir, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I've come back from an AA meeting, and I'm driving down to this biker bar down the road here, and I don't want to go in because I know I won't be able to stop myself. What can you do to help me?" And my grandfather sat him down and gave him a sandwich and some of his special juice that he had. And I was just really amazed at that he didn't judge the man, that he welcomed him. And then he walked over to me, and he had given me this stack of bills to count. And I was very, very poor. Both of my parents were alcoholics and raging, abusive people, and we were very, very poor. And so this money, I was counting this money, and it felt like so much money. It was $1 bills that he'd gotten from tips, but I was counting all the $1 bills, and he said, "Honey, do you know what that money is?" And I was like, "Yeah, Grandpa, that's money, and you're rich, you know." And I was just this little 6-year-old just talking to him about this money. And he said, "No, honey, that's my profit." And he said, "Profit is the tip your customers give you when you serve them well."
Hmm.
And it really resonated with me. And when I became an entrepreneur, and particularly when I became a purposeful entrepreneur, this lesson came flooding back. And the reason why it's important to today's conversation is purposeful entrepreneurs struggle with money and profit. And what's ironic about that is that we're really meant to profit and be prosperous, but when we're building a purposeful business, there's this dissonance that kind of enters the scene where we somehow feel like we shouldn't charge, or it should be a nonprofit, or we should give it away for free. And we have all these stories about profit. Um, and we've seen profit in its worst way in our society, especially in this country. And what I'm hoping to do with today's lesson is to show you how to bridge the gap and bring together purpose and profit. That has led me to create a portfolio of purposeful and profitable businesses. They're kind of popping up on the screen. I also have a purposeful Shark Tank where I invest in purposeful ideas like the world's first zero waste, totally zero waste makeup and skincare line. It's amazing. That's an example of purpose and profit coming together. And so that's my story. That's why this work really matters. And I want to learn a little bit about you, and you're going to put some answers into the chat, and Lisa's going to shout them off. And here's what I find with purposeful entrepreneurs is that we struggle to balance growth and profit with meaning and purpose. And I know I struggled with that when I first started my first purposeful business, which was Succeed on Purpose. I really struggled with this balance. So If you're struggling with the balance between growth and profit and meaning and purpose, just kind of put into the chat, why does it seem so hard for you? And Lisa's going to shout those out and we're going to talk about those. And then I'm going to get into 5 strategies to close the gap between purpose and profit. So who's struggled with that and where are your struggles? Anybody struggling with that?
Here's one, convincing people that there is value in purpose-driven.
Woo! Yeah, boy, I had to face that argument. Pretty much all of my CEO friends, when I started Share on Purpose Portfolio, thought I was crazy. And they were even doing interventions with me. Like, are you nuts? What are you
Wow.
doing? They thought I was crazy. Now they don't think so that anymore, but that's a biggie. Any others, Lisa, coming in? And then we're going to talk about trading money for meaning and what that looks like.
That's all for now.
Okay, so in 2008, I sold a very successful business. I had a growth strategy consulting firm, 40 consultants full time, making plenty of money. Had a great leadership team, marquee clients. I traveled, I had free time, a beautiful house, a nice car. I had anything that I wanted, but I was growing things that did not matter. And my soul was just dying. This was 2008 and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just could not continue to grow things that didn't matter. And I realized that the majority of my life, I had chased this definition of financial success. But what I really wanted to do was meaningful work.
Mhm.
And I've been taught, like many of us, that that's what you do when you retire. But while you're working, you chase financial success. And the fallacy to that is that we think that we can have one or the other, financial success or meaningful money, or meaningful work. And that we're afraid that these are diametrically opposed. And so I took the biggest risk in my life. I sold my business. It was a very large business, very successful. And I started over with this idea that there had to be a way to do both. And I was bound and determined to do that. Now, that sounds very noble, but I failed for years, 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. It probably wasn't even until 14 and 15 that I started experiencing any success. So I start with this noble cause to do meaningful money work, to grow things that mattered, and I failed and failed and failed. And I have a gift for analyzing failure. And I really tried to look at not just the mistakes that I was making, but the beliefs that were underneath the mistakes that I was making. And what I found is that I really was stuck on the idea in my core, at my deepest level, that my belief was that this was an or, and that what I had to change, I had to alter my belief to realize that this could be an and. And so this was around 2014, this idea that you could do meaningful work and make money. So first thing I had to change was my belief system to put an and there versus an or. The challenge, though, was that my behavior didn't immediately change. The belief changed. I altered the belief, but the behavior didn't change. And I realized that I needed to make an identity shift around what it meant to make meaningful money. And so I coined this term, meaningful money, and began this experiment for how do you do both? How do you both make money and do something that's meaningful? And what I discovered is that there are 5 truths that I needed to rewire to change my identity around purpose and profit. The first one was it's still a business, it just matters more. And for those of you that feel this pull towards purposeful business, there's a tendency to think of it in spiritual terms or soulful terms or soft terms, but it's still a business. And ironically, in spite of all of this business success, this was one of the mistakes that I made is I treated it like a soulful enterprise, but it was still a business. It still needed to make a profit. And I want to show you kind of how I unpacked that. So this idea that it's still a business, it still needs to generate a profit. And by the way, this one took the longest for me to rewire. The business still needs to make a profit, which means you need to understand how your business generates a profit. And you also need to understand it still needs to grow. And so breaking it down into what are the ways that my business generates a profit? Somebody talked about having a canned good business. Well, what are the costs of the materials? What is the cost to produce the product? And then how much profit does every sale generate? You really need to know that. You need to know how much profit every sale generates. Secondly, is you need to know how you're going to grow the business. It's not going to be magical. And I kind of thought it was like Field of Dreams. I'm going to build this purposeful enterprise and people are just going to come in and I'm going to make money. And it's like all my business thoughts kind of went out the window. And I didn't really think about it in terms of being a business. So you've got to change those two things. You need to understand how your business makes a profit, which I'll talk a little bit about, but you also need to understand how it grows. And those are not things that you can just hope to figure out someday. You're going to have to master the business stuff. And I mean master it. It matters so much. Your Izzy is a great example. This business matters so much to me because I'm tired of polluting the environment with personal care products. And so we have to understand, how does your Izzy make a profit every time somebody purchases this recyclable product? And then we take the old one and we put it back through the cleaning system. How does that business actually make a profit and how do we grow that? So you have to break it down. So that's truth number one. And you can't overlook this. A lot of times when I've been working with purposeful entrepreneurs, they want to just focus on the do-gooding part. And I'm here to tell you, as somebody who made that mistake, it isn't just about doing good. It's still a business. It just matters more. You need to know how it makes a profit. And you also need to know how you're going to grow that business because it's not going to come in magically. Second thing, and this is part of how you grow the business, is just because it matters to us doesn't mean it matters. Let me say that again. Just because it matters to us doesn't mean it matters. When I started my first purposeful business, which was Succeed on Purpose, I knew that my purpose was to inspire potential. So I'm on this earth to help people maximize their potential. And I ran around talking about how I'm going to maximize your potential. And it was like crickets. Nobody was interested in that. And because I wasn't speaking to what they needed. And so I had to kind of go back to the basics and really develop a picture of what the value is that I'm providing. So we want to use our business as a force for good. All of you mentioned something about that when you said why you were attracted to this. We're really driven to use our business to make the world better. We want it to be a vehicle to solve important problems. So just think about those three statements. We can probably go, yeah, that's exactly right. The problem is this: none of those are reasons why someone would buy from you. Just because you're doing it to do good in the world, just because you're trying to make the world better, just because you want to solve important problems, none of those are why someone would buy from you. So you have to change that equation. And here's the formula for what that looks like. You want to speak about the value you provide, not what you do, not what your purpose is, not your big why. None of those things are why someone would buy from you. Why they would buy from you is because of what we call the value equation. And the value equation works like this: what are the benefits of what it is that you do divided by the cost? That is the value equation. And in order to figure that out, there's a couple of steps. One is, who and where is your target market? So I'll use Your Izzy as an example. Your Izzy's target market is not just anybody that's buying mascara and lip liner and lip gloss. They're not. Their target market is somebody that both wants a great makeup product, but also somebody that wants a sustainable product. And we also learned that they're not willing to pay more for this just because it's recyclable. So we had to build a better business model. So you got to know who and where your target market is first and foremost. And sometimes it's not what you think. You've got to do a little bit of experimenting there to really find out who's resonating. They're not going to resonate with your mission and your purpose. They're not. You've got to think about it in terms of how they benefit. Second way to figure out how they benefit is what is the problem that they have? In our case, the target market for Your Izzy wants a great makeup experience. They don't want to pollute the environment. So we speak about those things. We talk about, what's the waste footprint every time you use personal care products, and how many personal care products are you using and how much waste is that generating? Our target market cares about that, but they also care about high quality makeup. So we don't just talk about the sustainable side, we talk about the quality of the makeup. So we learned that over time that we had to speak about both the sustainability, but also the quality of the makeup. Then you break that down a little further and you say, what are the benefits that they value and will pay for? Most of the time when I'm working with purposeful founders on what we call differentiation and key messaging, they're not only messaging to their purpose versus the benefits of what it is that they do, but they're talking about benefits nobody will pay you for. And that's why I kind of tie this back together. It's still a business. You need to talk about the benefits of how you help your target market get what it is that they want. So that benefit part is really important. We learned this in ShiftCo. When we first started talking about ShiftCo, we were talking about the diagnostic prescriptive tool that we use, and we were talking about growing a purposeful business. But at the end of the day, our target market cares about growing a business that's profitable. So we had to work on our messaging and talk about how we help people scale their business profitably. And so the beautiful thing, when you crack this nut and you build what's called a high value equation, the beautiful thing about it is your business will grow organically, which means you'll get lots of referrals and customers will stay and buy again. And so you're not going to talk about your purpose. I know Simon Sinek said, start with why. Your why is important to you, but it is not what causes people to buy from you. What causes people to buy from you is the benefits, where you solve their problem divided by the cost. And that value equation is how you win that game. So that's number 2. And by the way, we will take questions at the end when we get through all 5 of these. Number 3 is there is no silver bullet or no easy fix. Most of the time when I meet entrepreneurs, they're trying different things and hoping some silver bullet is going to make it work. I can tell you that is not going to be the case. There's a couple of fundamental things that you need to do. There's no quick fix. It takes effort in order to build a business. And just because it's purposeful does not mean it is easier. So how do you work on that piece? So number 1 is there's a phrase that I use called FD squared. And what FD squared is, it's the recipe for a profitable business. And what it stands for is fit, meaning the business must fit you. That's the F. The first D is demand. You've got to generate demand for your business. And the second D is differentiation. It's got to be differentiated based on value. And so when you really think about why you're building your business and why it matters, that is not the value. That's basically your motivation. It's not the value that you're providing. And the thing about purpose is a verb. It is not a noun. And so when we build a purposeful business, back to Your Izzy, we kind of think, oh, this business is my purpose. It's not the purpose. Purpose is the action that you're taking to make a difference in the world. So it's about what are you doing with the business How are you growing the business? How is the business serving? What is the action that you're taking? And I really do believe, and it's why I love working with purposeful founders, we are born to fulfill this purpose. It's almost something we can't not do. And it really does increase our resiliency and dedication. The challenge is it takes time to learn. We have to balance what I call the fulcrum. And the fulcrum is between purpose and profit, supply and demand. And that is not an easy thing to do. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be like, oh, we've got this silver bullet and magically it's going to work. You're still going to have to find your way through the fulcrum, and it just takes time to learn. So stop looking for the quick fix, the lottery ticket to business success. It's not out there. There's no one expert that has the answer. Instead, just break it down into incremental pieces and take the time to learn them. What I mean by that is you're going to have to figure out four things. One, the parts of your business that you love. And this was created by Andres Zuniga. Secondly, you've got to figure out what the world needs. And that's going to be that value equation component. Third is you've got to get that value equation so that you're paid for it. If you're doing too much free and giving away too much free, that is not a purposeful business. That is a nonprofit. And that is a hard road, particularly in the environment that we're in right now. And then lastly, it needs to be something that you're great at. And purpose is going to be at the heart of that. And ironically, when I started Share on Purpose and Succeed on Purpose, I thought this was going to be easy. And I can tell you, it's taken me, I've been at this now 18 years. Was one of the first probably 2,000 purposeful businesses back in 2008. There was around 2,000 about the time I started. Today, there's millions. But it took me a long time to get these four components right and to get them dialed in where it felt good to me, but it also made money. And that's the balance. It's got to feel good to me. It's got to feel like who I am. It's got to fit me, but it also needs to make money, which means the world must need what I'm doing and they must be willing to pay me for it. And for those of you that are struggling with that, let me just put that back up here for a second. Let me just get that up there on the screen. If you're struggling with that, what I would encourage you to do is to just take a giant step back. And that's what I had to do in 2013 and 2014. I had to take a giant step back because I had built a portfolio that was very unprofitable. It was consuming a lot of cash. And it wasn't very fun. It was not even a nonprofit. It was like a negative profit. And I had to take this giant step back. And I had to really look at it through different eyes. And I almost kind of blew up the whole thing and started over and said, I've built something that's not making me money. It's consuming money. I'm losing money. This is not what I believe a purposeful business is. And I began to change my identity around purpose and look for that balance, look for that but I also had to take a step back on what I was doing. Most of what I was doing, I love to do. And most of what I love to do was purposeful, but the world didn't need it. What they needed was these tweaks. And so I call it the magic line. The magic line is what's purposeful and you love with what the world needs and will pay you for them. You bring those together, that is at the heart of a purposeful, profitable business enterprise. So that's number 3. Stop looking for the silver bullet. There's no one size fits all. If I just put this lead magnet in place, it's going to work. It doesn't work like that. It is this process of working through those steps. Number 4, and part of this I also see with a lot of purposeful founders is that we haven't really got the focus part down. And I can tell you that focus is a discipline and it really is essential. And I'm going to show you kind of a couple of techniques for that. I really do believe winning as a purposeful founder requires focus, and I believe you have to master focus. And a lot of times I'll meet people and they're like, oh, well, I'm ADD. I have trouble with focus. And I'm like, good luck with that. You're going to have to learn how to focus with your ADD. Or I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I've got all these different things going on. Terry, I struggle with focus. That's great. You're going to have to learn how to focus. It's still a business. You're going to, and I had the same thing. I had all these different things going. I was going a mile a minute and all these different purposeful things, but they weren't making money. Part of that stepping back was me doing fewer things better. I'll say that again. Part of the stepping back was learning how to do fewer things better so that I really got the focus part. So you're going to have to learn how to focus. You can't get around that. Focus requires three things. Number one is knowing what to focus on. This is part of why Shiftco is so successful is we have a diagnostic prescriptive tool that kind of cuts through the BS and it focuses on what's the one thing that if we focus on, the business is going to grow. And we narrow it down to one thing at a time. So that's number one. Number two is you have to develop focus skills. Do not think that you can magically get past that. You can learn it. I'm going to give you one big powerful tip here in a minute. And then third is you need some accountability. It's also one of the reasons why Shiftco is in a community is there's a lot of accountability built into that. Coaches and mentors and founders that you work with help you with that accountability. As it relates to focus, I want to give you a couple of techniques here before we can determine really what we want. We have to turn off the negative programs first. So what do I mean by that? At any given point, we're running at least 5 negative programs at any given point. Some of us have all 5, some of us have 1 or 2, but that program is running us. So think of a program as a software program running in the background, and it's chipping away at our confidence, it's chipping away at our focus, and you really can't really figure out what you want in your business until you turn off the negative programs. Here's the challenge. When most people try to do that, they focus on their goals. If I can just be focused on my goals, what I want, then I can be more focused. It doesn't work that way. What you first have to start with is you have to alter the negative program first, because the negative program is in your subconscious, or it could be deeply embedded in your unconscious, and it's running you. You're not running it. And so we can't focus on our goals and what we want until we first alter the negative program. So I have a technique that I want to show you with. It's one of the things that I'm most known for. It's called the success switch. And what the success switch does is it turns off your amygdala. And your amygdala is the part of your brain where those programs are living. And it's kind of like that subconscious processor running in the background, telling you you're not good enough and telling you you can't do these things. And the 5 negative programs from my research that are stopping us is one, the I'm not enough program. 98% of the people that I've studied, and I've studied thousands of people, have that program. And how it works is, my business isn't growing. I'm just not good enough. And then we stop doing the things we need to do to grow our business. Or, I'm not sure I can charge X for this business because I'm afraid I'm not good enough. And again, it's in our subconscious. Just think about the stories you're telling yourself. Or, you meet somebody at a networking event and you feel insecure around them, and you're telling yourself this story, oh, they've got it all figured out and I don't know what I'm doing. Or, we're afraid to admit our failures. 98% of the people, the founders I studied, have that program. And if you do not turn that program off, it is going to keep you from achieving what you're meant to achieve. The second program I call the powerless program, where we have this, I can't focus. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do marketing. I can't do selling. I can't read a financial statement, blah, 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 blah. That powerless program is prevalent in our society. We have a victim mindset in our society right now in North America. It's almost becoming an epidemic. And we're surrounded by it, and we're in this cesspool of victimhood. And we've got all of these I can't stories about our business. I can't do that unless I have money. It takes money to make money. I can't do this. I can't do that. We have to turn that program off if that's yours. Third is, this is a big one. I get choked up on this one because I have this one. It's Atlas program. The Atlas, if you remember from Greek mythology, was the guy that held the world on his shoulders and held the Roman Empire up. And the I have to program is I have to be the one to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. And so if you have that program running, you end up being very busy, but not making much progress. And so if you have that program, you end up being very, very busy, but you're not really moving things forward. Number 4 is the failure program. Here I go again. I didn't do X. Here I go again. It's not working. This is a program that runs when people vacillate between starting the business and working for somebody, and starting the business and working for somebody, and starting the business and working for somebody. Is they start the business and then it doesn't work exactly the way that they want, and they subconsciously go, oh, I'm doing it again. And then this job over here looks like a good idea, and they end up kind of going back and forth through that with the failure program. And then number 5 is the imposter program. Who am I to think I can build this business? Who am I to think I could revolutionize X? Who am I to think that I can be successful as a founder? And so these 5 programs are pervasive with purposeful entrepreneurs. And what I'm going to show you how to do is how to turn them off. So remember, when I started this particular part, I told you that it's not about changing your beliefs. It's about first turning off the negative program. So you have to turn the negative program off so that you can install the new program. If you try to install the new goal or the new program before you've turned the old one off, it won't work. And so that's what I call the success switch. It's one of the things I'm known for. And what we do with the success switch is we turn off the amygdala, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And we turn on the prefrontal cortex as we're programming that new belief, that new program. So here's how it works. And I want you to do it with me because you'll feel it very quickly. It's really simple. This is called the success switch, and it's A, B, and C. I'm a former middle school teacher, so I like to make things really simple. And so we start first with A. Make sure you're on mute when you do this. And so we first have to acknowledge the negative program. And we literally have to call it out by name. And the way that you do that is you're going to use the prompt. The truth is, I feel, and whatever comes up, comes up. And again, I'm going to have you do this with me in a minute. So I might say, the truth is, I feel frustrated. And then you're going to pause. And you'll notice it'll take about 30 to 60 seconds, and your brain will start to downshift when you do this. So you're just going to use the prompt. The truth is, I feel. It can be the truth is, I feel tired. I feel scared. I feel frustrated. Doesn't matter. And then after you, and do it out loud because I want you to hear it. And then you're just going to wait. And you're going to wait about 30 to 60 seconds, and you're going to feel your amygdala start to downshift, and eventually it's going to go into neutral. So do it with me now, and I'm going to have you wait for the pause. So out loud, you say, the truth is, I feel, and whatever comes up, and then we're going to pause. Ready, set, go. And keep that pause there. Just pay attention to your brain. You're going to notice it start to slow down. Fifth gear, fourth gear, third gear. And when it gets into neutral, which usually the first time you do it takes about a minute, I'm going to wait just a little bit longer. What you've just done is you've put the amygdala in pause. And the amygdala is the program that's running in the background. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And when you say the truth is, I feel scared. The truth is, I feel frustrated. The amygdala stops and it starts to downshift. Fourth gear, third gear, second gear, first gear. Huh. My brain is on pause. Boy, that feels different. The beautiful thing now, and wait until it goes on pause. Now we can do the second step, the B, where we're going to actually activate the prefrontal cortex, and we're going to turn on what's called the parasympathetic nervous system through 4 distinct breaths. Breath number 1, in through your nose and out of your mouth. Nice and deep, and breathe out. And really let that be a long exhale. Do it a little deeper. Breath number 2. Exhale nice and slow. You'll notice you start to feel just a little dizzy, a little lightheaded. That's the parasympathetic nervous system dumping serotonin and dopamine into your nervous system, which is great. 2 more. Breath number 3. Nice and slow. And breath 4. Now this time just kind of going, just lean back and kind of get in a relaxed posture. The physical posture really matters. What you've just done is you've activated the good brain, the boss of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. Now it's running. Parasympathetic nervous system has calmed you down, and the amygdala is like juicy and ready for a new program. And then you put the new program in. To do that, you're just going to claim a new belief. But you're going to claim a new belief visually. You're going to do it verbally. And so I like with a power stance. So I'm going to say my new belief is, yes, I can. And I'm going to put my Rocky Punch on. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to visualize myself doing whatever it is I want to do. I want to close new sales, whatever. I want to speak on stage. I'm visualizing, yes, I can. And you claim that new belief. And what you're doing right now is you're installing it into the amygdala. And by the way, all you've got to do is do this same process twice a day for 7 days, and it will eradicate one of those negative programs that we talked about a minute ago and install that new program. If you don't believe me, try it. This of all the things, this is probably the biggest thing I'm known for. Twice a day, 7 days in a row, and you will get rid of the old program and the new program will be there. But it takes these exact 3 steps. Take a picture of the screen, whatever you need to do there. And by the way, if you want a tip sheet that describes the process, just let us know, just email us, and we've got a tip sheet and a video that we can send you on just this. So that's powerful. Now that we've taken that program out, now I'm going to give you the exercise. What do you really want? And to do that, you're going to just write down this phrase, I'm happy and grateful now that, and you're going to write what it is you really want. You're going to find something comes out totally different. I'm happy and grateful now that Oprah's called. I'm happy and grateful now that I've got that TV show. Like your dreams are a lot bigger now because we took the old program out. So just take a minute. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm ridiculously abundant. You know, whatever comes up, that's what you really want and that's what you really deserve. So do that now. And then I'm going to give you the next tip. Okay, so now you're focused. You know what you want. You know you've taken the old program off. You put the new program in. Now you've got to focus at another level. Okay, so you can't focus when that old program's running you. But once you turn that program off, you're going to do what I call the athlete's advantage. So early in my purposeful Shark Tank journey, I was asked to be on the board of an organization that trained former athletes, college and professional athletes to start businesses. And they'd done some research that I coined the athlete's advantage. And what they said in their research is athletes were 3 times more successful than non-athletes at building a business. Let me say that again. Their research said that athletes were 3 times more successful than non-athletes at building a business. And I was fascinated by that. And I started thinking, why could that be? And it's a couple of reasons. Athletes have trained their mind and their body to make moves rather than be in motion. What do I mean by that? Entrepreneurs are in motion. We're doing stuff, but we're not really moving the business forward. And so you have to train your mind and your body. It's somatic. You have to train your thoughts and you have to train your body to make moves. When you're in motion, you're busy, you're doing lots of stuff, you're over here, you're over there, but you're not really going anywhere. So what I teach people is how to break moves down so that every day you're making moves so the business is moving forward. And so just kind of call yourself out. Are you in motion in your business? Are you doing stuff? Or are you really making moves? What it looks like to make moves are effort with intention. An example of that is, let's say you like networking and you're running around to all these networking things, but that's motion. What it would look like if it were a move is, I'm going to 2 networking events this month with the goal of meeting 5 people and walking away with 3 leads. So I'm going to I'm going to develop 5 new relationships at each of these networking events and walk away with 3 leads. That is a move. A motion is, I'm running around and I'm doing all this stuff. I'm busy, but I'm not actually doing it with intention. Moves are measurable. And so what I teach people to do is build a list of daily do's that move your business forward. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to have time on my calendar every day. My first time block every day is with myself. And it's not a meeting. And I've got moves, and I've got 3 different things that I do. I follow up with a prospect, I reach out to a new contact, or I post something on social media. Every day for 1 hour, I do those things, 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 of those, depending on what I'm doing. But I do them with intention. I don't just post randomly. I don't just reach out randomly. I don't reach out, just kind of hoping and poking. It's with intention. I'm reaching out to Jim so that I can learn more about Jim's business to see if we're a match. I'm going to this networking event to meet 5 people to develop 3 leads. I'm posting on social media to remind the people that know me what it is that I do. And so rather than just doing things, I literally do each one of those with pure intention designed to move my business forward. And by the way, we have tons of tools in this, in ShiftCo. It's one of the things that we're really focused on, and helping our members focus on, but break it down into those daily moves and dedicate time to do that, deliberately with intention. Okay, last but not least, and then I'll take questions. This was the one that kicked my you-know-what. I don't cuss on Wednesday, so I'm not going to cuss, but this kicked my you-know-what. The business grows, a purposeful business grows as we evolve, not as we, hire somebody to make a lead magnet for us. The business grows as we evolve. Purposeful business is different. And your business grows as you evolve. So what does that mean? It means we got to look at our stuff. What are our beliefs about our abilities? You got to challenge those. If you've got one of those negative programs running, maybe I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur. Maybe I should go get a job. Maybe I don't have the ability to focus. Maybe I'm not good enough. If you got that going on, you've got to change that. You cannot accept it, because those unconscious and subconscious programs will cause you to fail. That's the only thing that will cause you to fail, is what's between your 2 ears. So you got to challenge those beliefs, and you got to look at them, and you got to say, no more. You're not going to hold me hostage anymore. You've got to challenge your beliefs about business. Business is hard. Yeah, it's hard. So what? Choose your hard. Right now, finding a job is hard. Right now, watching the news is hard. Right now, driving in traffic is hard. Right now, there's a lot of things that are hard. Yeah, building a business is hard, but so what? Choose your hard. If you focus on that belief that it's hard and that's all you focus on, and you're looking at all the hard, it's just going to get more and more hard. Change your belief about it. It's hard, but I love what I do. That's my thing. I have the best job in the world. And yes, sometimes I work more than I like, and sometimes it's harder than I would like, but I don't care, because I love what I do, and I change my belief about it. Third is, we have to change our belief about self-worth. One of my favorite quotes is from Corey Close, the coach of the UCLA women's basketball team that won here recently. And she said, "You never outperform your self-image. So if you don't believe you're worthy of this business, no one else will ever believe it either. You got to challenge that. You can't accept that. And this one I get very choked up about, because I realized that in spite of back in this 2013, 2014, 2015 period that I talked about, when I was accepting that I had failed miserably, I realized part of why I failed was because I didn't believe I deserved it. I'm a person who made a lot of money professionally and as a founder. But when I started this purposeful business, deep down inside, I did not believe that I deserved it. I had to challenge that. And it took a lot of discovery work to get rid of that. And last but not least, you also have to challenge your beliefs about abundance. I'm still working on this one, and prosperity. When we build a purposeful business, there's this dissonance around we should make money and do something good in the world. And I really had to deconstruct that, I now believe I'm going to be ridiculously abundant because of purpose. Not I'm going to give it away and I'm going to try and I'm going to hope and all this kind of stuff, because deep down inside, I had this dissonance with money, which brought me back to my grandfather's quote that profit is the tip your customers give you when you serve them well. Okay, so we'll wrap up and then I'll take questions. If you think you're might ready and you want to learn a little bit more about Shiftco, we have a little toolkit that we can send you called Inside Shiftco. If you want to, it kind of describes how it works. It's kind of like a sample. Also, if you want to get a free coaching session with me, Lisa will give you my calendar. Be more than happy to do that. And I'll give you some free ninja tools. And then you can also attend free events. There's no trick here. You can attend as many events as you want. And we'll serve you until you're ready for us to really help you light it up. And speaking of that, the next two events, Ditch the Pitch, is phenomenal. It will teach you a way to talk about your business in a way that's value focused, benefits focused. And then also you can join us on June 17th. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and take questions. Who has the first?